Angela Gonzalez, known as Agonza, is a street muralist and social worker based in Providence, Rhode Island. After suffering neglect and abuse in her formative years, Angela was able to work through her trauma with her art. Now she has combined her two passions of art and helping others to paint her community with positivity and growth. Angela joins me today to discuss her work and the difficult path that ultimately led to her life's mission. Welcome, Angela, and thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Brad.
So you're an artist and a social worker, and you've combined these two passions. How did you combine social worker and an artist? Tell me what you do.
I used art for my own therapy and then trying to survive and putting food on my plate and financially stabilizing myself after college and after coming from Dominican Republic. So I never wanted to stop my art, although I needed to put food on my plate. So I just was like, well, I need to work with both of them. How can I incorporate everything in between?
How does art and painting, how does that make you cope with your trauma and put a smile on your face? How does that work internally?
I think it's two types of way for me specifically that it works. I think it's, when you're focused on one thing, you kind of just block everything out. You're focused on the brush strokes and you're focused on or the drawing and how to get the detail, and you're not thinking about everything else that's happening around you or the things that you're worried about. So I think it's just kind of blocking the world out and focusing on this canvas or paper.
Almost like a meditation with art.
Yeah, even developing the concept of my art, I think it's hard to be a female Latina. I think just telling your story, because everybody's like, well, boo-hoo. And I don't like telling my story because I don't like having people to feel bad. I was just like, well, how can I get this pain out, or how can I talk about it without talking about it? Right. So I think, reenacting emotions into painting. So if I'm crying, I'll paint a picture of crying, or if I feel a certain way, I just try to reenact it.
Do you start crying yourself as you're painting? Do you become emotional?
I do. I think every single painting I've done has at least one tear in it. I have colleagues and friends who tell me I'm an emotionally Latina person right. because I'm a little bit more emotional than my others, and I'm very passionate. So a lot of people will try to reflect on what they feel is going on. As to me, I'm just like, I don't really care how people think when I put this emotion, whether they think I'm wrong or right. I just need to get this out. I want to show people that this is a normal thing to go through and this is a normal emotion, and normalize it.
Let's talk about your family's immigration story. Where were you born?
I was born here in Providence, Rhode Island.
So you're an American citizen, but then I understand at age 9, your parents took you back to the Dominican Republic.
Yes.
Why did they do that, and what was that like? Did you speak Spanish?
Before that, I was in a DCYF and just in and out of childcare because my mom had a drug addiction problem, and she's Puerto Rican. And then my dad's side of the family, he was in and out of incarceration. So I basically lived mostly with my grandmother, who was also an immigrant, and worked at a factory all day. I understood Spanish, but I couldn't speak it because I was taught that you need to speak English to succeed in the United States. So when I was brought to Dominican Republic because my mom had lost my custody because of a drug issue, my dad was deported to Dominican Republic and I was sent there with him. So I had to learn it.
So what was it like being in the Dominican Republic in the custody of your father? Because you went from mom who was a drug addict now going back to the Dominican Republic with your father who was deported. What kind of father was he?
It was scary. He wasn't there at first when I was first sent there. He was, I think he had a year left incarceration. And I think going to a house where I didn't know anybody. I had my great grandmother there who I met when I was very young, and I was scared. There was still a lot of violence in Dominican Republic, and trying to grasp that the Dominican Republic is not like the USA. People getting shot right in front of you, and people normalize these things there. And I'm just like, no, this is not normal. And then my dad coming out, he's always been a violent person. So I think I already was expecting that. I just thought he would change, and he didn't. So I just didn't think I was going to come back to the US. I didn't think I was going to live past 17, honestly.
You didn't think you were going to live past 17 because of something your father would do, or just because the Dominican Republic was a violent place?
Everything. I think I was coming out of school. I went to a nun school just because I was American. So for people, I'm like a golden ticket. Coming out of school, I've been robbed at gunpoint. I've been beat in alleys because of my father and his reputation. and then coming back home and then my dad beating me and my own father would put a gun on my head. So it's like I'm scared of the outside, but being in my house was also scary as well. So
what was scarier, being outside or being with your dad?
With my dad, he has so many connections with police force, and
there was nobody coming to save you.
no, nobody, absolutely nobody.
What were some injuries that you remember?
I was sent to the hospital for a lot of things. I had a runny nose. I think my nose had cracked. I had some internal bleeding. I had reoccurring bruises. I still have infertility issues.
What would bring you to the hospital? Your father would beat you and then bring you to the hospital?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the hospital, they would just treat you and they wouldn't ask how this happened?
No, because I was Angel's daughter.
How did you get out of that situation? How did you survive?
My adoptive mother now, she would call me and she would tell my father she just wanted to check in with me. And we would always have like codes. Her name is Pauline Rodriguez. She dated my father when I was younger, and here in Providence. And she just fell in love with me. And after even leaving him, she always would come around and check on me. She's the reason why I even got out of the Dominican Republic.
What did she do?
She almost lost her job. She dropped thousands of dollars just to take me out of the country in a state of emergency. She risked her own life. I had to walk around with bodyguards. And when transitioning out, she watched me go through the physical shock.
What was the incident that caused her to say, I gotta go get Angela?
I had gone to school. I was on finals, and my dad was reoccurring beating me. And in Dominican Republic, it's very hot. But I would wear turtlenecks and long sleeves at all times. I went to a nun school, and the nun school said that I couldn't go to their school because it was a bad reputation for them. So I just begged them to just let me finish my finals and that I would be out. And my plan was to run away after I finished my finals. And so my friends in that school, they actually skipped their finals and went to the Justice of Women and Children in Dominican Republic, and they reported my father. Bodyguards actually showed up to my school and arrested me in front of everybody because they just didn't want to make it about anything else. So they arrested me and took me. They basically called my adoptive mother and told her, you either going to come and get her or we're going to put her for adoption here in the United States. And she is an American, so everybody's going to want to adopt her, whether it's good intentions or not.
So that's when your adopted mother, who at the time was your stepmother, she came down.
Yep, the next day.
How old were you?
I was 17. I was a year to be legal, so that's why I was mostly important.
Now, you came back to the United States,
Mm-hmm.
and you now have this wonderful career as an artist and a social worker. When did you first start to know you had artistic talent in the Dominican Republic, or was it after you came back to the U.S.?
It was always, I've always drawn. I used to draw. I think the painting part was after I came from Dominican Republic because I wasn't allowed to do much because I was a woman. So in DR, you have to like cook and clean. So I didn't have time to paint. I would just do doodles and drawings on my homework and stuff. But when I came here, I think having the opportunity to go to college was like, oh, you can paint and having that space to be who I wanted to be and without judgment. I think that was like the break for me.
So when you came back to the U.S., things calmed down, obviously.
Absolutely.
And you attended the University of Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
Started your artistic career. Did you have to go to therapy?
I actually had PTSD for 4 or 5 years. I was hospitalized in college once and then twice after I graduated college. And I was going to get married with somebody. And because of my depression, I couldn't, my PTSD and my depression, it just interfered. So I had to move back from Boston and come here, and I just evolved.
All throughout this, it was your art that helps you get through your pain.
Yeah, last time I was in the facility, I actually just did a really huge painting and they let me do that, which was hard because it's wooden panels and, it's a self-harming object, which they would call. It was very strict and it was kind of like a jail cell. So it was a painting of a side profile anime of myself, and my hair is like branches and leaves, and I'm growing branches out of my brain, just kind of like demonstrating that I'm growing. Like, I'm healing and I'm growing and my mind is developing as it goes.
When you moved back to Providence, you received a lot of recognition for your first mural in that city. Tell me about that mural.
I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't know what to paint. And my mom, she would just be like, paint whatever your little heart desires. desires? What do you feel is right for the people? If you were a child, what would you like to see? And I never want to speak upon anybody else's story, so I did a self-portrait of like my pain and like the power between being an urban artist and transitioning into the US. So I did that piece, and it was very scary because I just didn't know the Black power symbol is it's very controversial. Like, you know, some people don't like it, and I have to respect that. So I was very fearful, and so was the Avenue. I got so much good feedback that it was amazing.
What is the Avenue concept? You just mentioned that.
Yeah, so the Avenue concept is a nonprofit organization that does public art and tries to improve the city with public art, and they do a lot with art.
And you're now on the board, so that's amazing. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. What do you want your art to say to people when they see it today?
I want them to just connect with it personally. I want them to be able to look at it and say, that's me, that's my mom, that's my auntie, that's my grandma. And just know that whatever I'm painting or whatever message I'm trying to send across, that it's okay to feel like that, and that you're not alone, and be someone like me. You can get through all that trauma and still become who you want to be.
You recently painted a mural of Miss Rhode Island 2020 in downtown Providence. Mm-hmm. What was this project for? And why did you choose Miss Rhode Island as your subject?
So the Avenue Concept had commissioned me to do a piece after a business owner had gotten their windows broken after the riot. So she specifically requested me because of the mural I had done previously. So they actually called me and said, can you come down today? And I actually showed up, and they trusted me to pick anything I wanted. They didn't even ask me. They knew that I was going to do something that was going to be influential. So everybody painting Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and the Avenue just looked at me and was like, we trust you. And I was like, I'm going to paint someone who's alive, that if they were to pass, like, we would appreciate them. And that's when I chose Jeanette, who is Miss Rhode Island and a very close friend. And I just feel like I didn't want to, I know this sounds really, but I just didn't want to paint someone dead. I don't want to paint someone who, like, I don't have to wait for someone to die with all this that's happening. I don't want to wait for someone to die to paint them. The same way with me, I don't want someone to recognize me as an artist after I'm dead. And so I wanted to paint someone who was doing great things. And Miss Rhode Island was just, she was doing the best she could, you know, being a cheerleader for the New England Patriots and being Miss Rhode Island and trying to volunteer with the students. And the girl's like a superwoman. So I wanted to paint her.
You also painted a mural in front of a high school in Providence. What was that all about?
Yeah, I partnered with Providence Student Union, an after school program, which I think after school programs are amazing for students and to get them out the house, especially if they're from a toxic home environment. And especially with COVID, me and the director, his name is Javier, he and I came together and we're like, we need to give something to these students to give them hope. They are all Black and brown students from classical and Central High. I wanted to do something to give them hope, and that we're standing together and no matter what happens.
Do you get a lot of passersby comment about your work?
I've had people who walk by and be like, here we go again, basically saying it's a rundown of Black Lives Matter, and people telling me they're tired of hearing it. And I had actually someone tell me, don't you get tired of telling the same story of the Black Lives Matter and telling your story? And I literally looked at them with a jar of paint and a paintbrush, and I looked at them, I said, no, and I will never, because there's someone out there that needs to hear it and they haven't heard it yet. So I'm gonna keep telling my story. But then I get kids who cry to me and they're like, oh, they love it, and like, I want to be like you. Yeah. Every time they say that, I cry, because I'm just like, I would never, if I could go back to who I was and be like, this is who you're gonna be, I would have been like, I don't believe you.
Do you ever speak to your father or your biological mother or even your grandmother?
I don't really keep in contact with my biological family. Some of them, my brothers and sisters. I think it's my dad. I've definitely sent him a message through Facebook, and I've told him, you know, I can't move on from life if I can't forgive you. I don't care like what you did to me. Like, you know, my mom always tells me I can't hold that in me anymore. I just gotta let it go.
Did he respond?
He tells me that he still loves me and that he apologizes for what he did. But he's a very self-centered person. He always has been. So he just, well, I'm going through this, and this is what I was going through at the time. And I'm just like, it doesn't matter. I was a child. Like,
what a strong mind, strong human being you are to have overcome all of that. Is that why maybe you're a social worker?
Yes. I'm sorry. My mom, my adopted mother, she always told me if you don't do it for yourself, nobody's going to do it for you. So I think I always told since a little girl, I told myself, I'm never going to say, oh, poor me. Oh, this person didn't help me. I'm going to say, I did it because I did it myself. So for me, it's just encouraging people that when you're going through something, don't let anybody else be the excuse as to why you didn't achieve something. No matter what you're going through, I think you need to stay positive, figure out a way to get out of it. And then from there, you need to do it yourself.
Children learn their behaviors from their family. You broke that learned behavior, and that is amazing. And on top of it, you became this awesome, amazing, successful artist.
Oh, thank you.
Now, butterflies, they're a consistent theme in your artwork.
I think it's a self-reflection.
Right.
As I evolved, I started incorporating them because my ancestors are the butterfly sisters. They're called the Muralist. And they're three sisters who had died by a dictator in the Dominican Republic. And so they were found dead instead of worms, which was very odd. But for me, I think I started putting them more because I'm finally feeling free. I can be whoever I want to be. I can fly to wherever I want to fly.
This is also a show about achieving your American dream.
Mm-hmm.
You feel you've achieved the American dream?
I'm getting there. I'm still a little small town artist, and hopefully I can do bigger, better things and start painting internationally. My darkest moments were out of the US. And so I feel like there's still kids out there that are in that moment. And so I just need to reach them and figure out how to reach them. So
your story is an amazing story of survival, ultimate success, and ultimately giving back to your community, both in your art and your social work. Congratulations to you, to what you've done. And thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you, Brad.